And the main thing I wanted to say, and in fact the movie hit this point, is what caused the environmentalists that they were interviewing to start to change their opinion that nuclear power might be something they should consider, is this idea of efficiency. And so it's a point I often make, and I just want to make that tonight, and then I'll close with. The stuff should be used for what it's good for. And it turns out that nuclear fuel is pretty good for making electricity. So as an engineer, I would argue we should use it for making electricity. By contrast, right, fossil fuels currently are the best option for flying airplanes. Nuclear power doesn't fly airplanes very well. So fossil fuels should be used for flying airplanes. Solar power has places where it's the best thing to use, it should be used there. Wind has places where it's the best, it should be used there. But nuclear is very good for making baseline electricity that keeps our cities running, keeps our industry running. So the argument I would make, and I think it's one they were coming to, if you're serious about taking care of your society, you should start using things in the best way.
And this sort of echoes Dr. Bean's analysis of it, but in the coming decades, the world is going to be experiencing consequences from global warming, to which fossil fuels is a huge contributor. And as a result, we need to be looking for cleaner, more efficient energy sources, and nuclear power does provide one of those energy solutions. In addition, we have, especially from the perspective of political science, we have a bigger concern in addition to just the environment, but also resource scarcity has been proven to lead to conflict around the world. And we're already seeing that fossil fuels leads to conflict. And so we need to look for more energy sources that also help to contribute to peace around the world as well. Is nuclear power the single answer to this problem? Probably not, but it is definitely a part of the solution. If countries have a diversified energy portfolio, they are much more secure in their energy production, and also they are providing, especially if it's renewable, cleaner energy, a safer environment, and also helping to promote peace around the world. One of the things that the film did really well, which is something that political science is really concerned about with regard to policymaking, is this idea of risk perception and how the perception of the public can actually impact policy decisions. And in this case, the perception of the public with regard to nuclear energy has actually hindered the production of nuclear energy, particularly in this country. And that's something that policymakers need to address if they want to see a viable nuclear energy program.
So I actually cheated and watched the movie in advance and wrote out some comments at 4:30 this morning. So in my opinion, I think the movie presents us with some false choices. And it seems that if, as presented in the movie, if we're not pro-nuclear, then we must be opposed to nuclear. And in fact, it said if you're opposed to nuclear, then you must be pro-fossil energy. I think the movie implies that solar energy is not the single solution to our future energy needs, so therefore perhaps we should embrace nuclear energy. And we live in a society where we've been conditioned to believe that life is a series of these simple binary choices, you know, the right choice or the wrong choice. And moreover, we expect that the other side will be given a fair and balanced hearing, even if it has little credibility or validity. However, the reality is that the world is much more complicated than that. Energy is the largest industry in the world, and the scientific and technical energy issues are entangled with social, political, economic, environmental, historical, ethical, and cultural dimensions and more. And framing these issues as simple choices is disingenuous. And in the United States, the scientific literacy among the public is disturbingly poor. At the highest levels of the US government, as we saw in the movie, the scientific process is misunderstood and misrepresented. And we're still debating whether we should be teaching evolution in our science classrooms. Many people believe there is scientific uncertainty about whether the climate is changing because of greenhouse gas emissions from burning fossil fuels. So against this backdrop, the movie points a finger at Democrats for stopping advanced nuclear reactor development. And the question I have is, since when did we start expecting our politicians to make science and evidence-based decisions that go against the wishes of a polarized and scientifically illiterate electorate? And I ask myself also if the writers of the movie were cleverly trying to get us to see the wonderland in which we exist by presenting a disgraced hypocrite as the voice of a reasonable Republican. So the challenges we face are very serious and complex, and it is certain that wind and solar will have a significant place in our future energy portfolio. Nuclear energy is in our portfolio now, and whether it remains there and what level and with what technology are worthwhile issues to discuss. However, the more important question is, how do we as a society make these complicated decisions about these complicated issues when few people seem to be willing to do the hard work of being well informed? And I'm probably talking to the wrong group here about that. But an uninformed and ignorant populace will not support a scientific and evidence-based policymaking process. So Pandora's Promise does present some very interesting information, but it fails to fully and thoughtfully communicate the complex dimensions of our global energy challenges.